I am your host, Lia Dunlap, and you are listening to the Oracle on Purpose podcast, where we help intentional leaders clarify their purpose and next steps to create a work and life of significance. Hey everyone, I'm so glad to hear all of you coming in. I can feel the energy of the room growing right now because you know that I have somebody special on our show today. I'm really excited to share the next person's story. I know I've been doing this for a couple of days now. And what I wanted to share with everybody today, because I know that many people silently suffer with their upper limits and feel like, hey, I'm all together. I'm the most amazing person in the room. I shouldn't struggle. I don't need to struggle. I should know how to do this. And I'm here with Dr. Melissa Bird because I was so excited that she joined us in our last cohort of the Purpose and Prosperity program. And I want her to share a little bit about her story about how that turned things around for her right now and where she's at and all the amazing things she has going on. And so I'm going to turn it over to you. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you are up to today, Melissa?
Thank you so much, Leah. I'm so happy to be here. I love you. I am Dr. Melissa Bird, and I am a life coach and a public speaker, and my company is called Natural Born Rebel, and so many things to say. I live in Corvallis, Oregon, with 3 kids, 1 very fabulous partner, 2 dogs, and a 3-legged cat. So it's been busy in our house for the last year. And oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start with the joy. So I reluctantly joined the accelerator because I was like, I just knew I needed a kick in the pants. And I think especially when you are a coach and a very public presence in the world, admitting you need a kick in the pants is sometimes complicated. And I also was expanding spiritually. Mm-hmm. So I was really coming into owning. I thought I came up with this myself, #Christian Witch. Turns out there's like thousands of people in the world who are both Christian and practicing witches. And so I was really starting to expand spiritually as well. And so I knew I needed something that wasn't just going to be about my business or life coaching, like the kick in the pants. That way, I needed a combination of spiritual expansion and business acumen. And so that's why I chose to work with you, because it gave me that balance that I needed at that exact moment to up-level me to the next space. And boy, howdy did I felt like sometimes it was like a street fight where I was like, hey, I don't think so. And then.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm just going to pause. Everybody's like, what is happening? So she's being honest, folks. Like, you know me, everybody knows me. I'm a straight shooter. And yeah, I'm going to be straight with you. We're going to be honest and call things out. So yeah, I love that you mentioned that. That's a great piece. And before we go to the street fight, which now everybody's sitting on the edge of their seats, I love it. You know, in the promo here, I talk about the fact that I love what you just said, especially that, you know, myself, others, those of us who are in either coaching or healing or anything, or even just driven women, period.
Yep.
Or whatever dimension you're in, that we can so struggle with just admitting that if we got a little bit of help, we could shift things, or that we're not doing great right now. Like, that's a big piece of this. Like you said, being honest, right? Like, hey, let's be honest. And so can you tell us, like, before you said yes to coming into the accelerator, let's just have some real talk. Like, where were you really? Where was your business and where were you really before you said, all right, that's it, let's do this?
Well, my business was stuck. So it was was at the point, I started my business in 2017. It had gone through a major overhaul in 2019. And of course, with the pandemic in 2020, everybody hit the brakes. And I started listening to that self-doubt. And then I also was really struggling with my husband.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of emotional chaos happening in my household. We'd had a really hard time with our oldest daughter with the beginning of the pandemic. And my husband was just not getting it. And he was not supporting me. And he was engaging in his own stressful stuff. And I was just a mess. I was lost. I didn't know what I was doing in my business. I mean, I knew what I was doing, right? I had my programs, I had my funnel, I had my fabulous assistant. I had built the systems, and I was just frozen in time. And I knew that what I needed was an expansion of my heart and a reconnection to that spiritual part of who I am in order for me to up-level my business and push forward in my business. Up-level is not even the right word, Lia, for what happened. Like, up-level is such like a quantum physics takeoff. Like, I'm not even in the same sphere anymore.
Yeah, stratospheric. Is that, can we use that word, stratospheric?
Yeah. It's not an up-leveling. It's like a stratospheric takeoff.
Stratosphere. We're hashtagging that one. Stratospheric takeoff.
Yeah.
But this is so. I love what you just tapped into as well, which is I constantly tell people, look, I am a holistic coach. I am a mentor that looks at your whole self, and part of yourself is your life and your relationships. You cannot, have the infamous three-legged stool. We need to make sure that everything's kind of working together. And what I remember, and I think this goes back to those kind of tough conversations, were those challenges that you were going through that I was hopefully encouraging you to see that as part of the process, right? I mean, I think that's one of the things that within that container, we take it all on, right? Yeah, that's the stratospheric part. We take it all on. There's no oh yeah, but don't look at that over there. That's something else. It's like,
no, it's always together. It all goes together. And I have to say that the thing that I appreciate the most about working with you is that it is really sometimes the exact thing you don't want to hear. And this is what I tell people who choose to do any program. You get out of that program what you put into it. And I had to make an investment in being 100% in. Like I before I even agreed to join, I said to myself, you're going to go full on into this, and you're going to do all the work, and you're going to listen for the messages. You might not like the messages. You're going to listen. And sometimes it would take me a couple weeks to absorb them. And I still to this day go back to those notes and use those lessons. I really do. Like, I embody them in my preaching. I write those lessons into my blogs. I use them with my clients. Like, there were some major life-changing moments where I was like, everybody needs to hear what I took away from this and the nuggets that I walked away with that make me a better coach, a better mom, a better partner, a better friend. Because there is so much joy in the breaking. And boy, did you break me open.
Okay, so everybody's now going, okay, we got our pens. What's a nugget? What's a nugget that you find yourself kind of going back to over and over again, or at least that is one that stands out for you now?
One of the biggest things that happened over the course of those couple of months is that I figured out that, and I can't remember exactly how you put it, but there was something about integrating happiness and joy in with every single thing we do every day. And there was a moment also where I was meditating and praying, and I very distinctly heard, you are going through transfiguration. And I was like, what? Because, in the Christian faith, there's only one being who's ever done that, and that was Jesus. And I'm like, we can all do that? And at that moment, I recognized, that's why I'm going through and learning these lessons and hearing these messages, is so that I can use joy with my own clients and in my own life every single day to completely change the way we operate in the world. And I was like, whoa. It was amazing. It was so amazing. And the other thing I realized is that I am entitled to all the things.
Yes. Whoop, whoop. Okay, we're taking a moment. Dance break. Yes. We are on. Oh my gosh.
All the things. And that abundance comes in all these forms. It's not just about money. Right?
Okay, write that down. Abundance comes in all forms. Not just
the whole thing caboodle.
Okay, this is funny. We're setting the dogs off again. Melissa and I, our energy is so intense that the dogs have been baying with us before we started. So I love it. They agree, apparently, that is true.
Yeah.
So, of course, we could talk forever because we just can, you and I. And I was noting for myself, I just had someone that I spoke with and realized that one of the beauties of where I am in my work today is I get to hand select who I work with.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about you, and like the Oracle kept saying, talk to Melissa, talk to Melissa. I'm like, and I was like you said, right? And I'm going to be honest with everybody who's listening to this. I'm like, Melissa doesn't need, like, she's the bad rebel. She's a rebel. I can't believe I almost just said that. That's her, not me. I'm picking up on Melissa energy. I would not want to say that. But I know that there's that calling that comes and it circles the person who I'm meant to, share this information with. And I know that there are people out there that maybe have been in my sphere, walking around, coming by. People have been sending them over here and are kind of like, what is it? What is it like to work with Lia, and what will I get? Like, what's the infamous, what's in it for me if I show up in this container? And I know you've talked a lot about kind of the emotional, energetic shift, but we're not all just about that. I mean, yes, while it's not all about the money, it is also about the money, which is another lesson I'm constantly, hopefully, imparting on people. So I'm curious for you, what has the financial reward been for being in the program?
Well, this goes back to the street fight.
I knew we're coming back. I wasn't worried. We were going to talk about it.
So I can sit here all day long and be like, I'm worth this and I'm worth that. And I call in all the abundance and all the mantras and the Post-it notes on my mirror and all the things. But the bottom line, Lia, is that if you don't believe it, you will see dripples of it. I like to call them dripples because it's like a little dripping and a little ripple, and it's a dripple. And you'll be like, whoa, I had a really great month this month. I made more money this month than I made last month. But you have to believe it in the core of your soul. And there was still parts of me that wanted to resist my worth. And I could literally, I know exactly when it happened at the end of the program in like the last 2 weeks, when finally it clicked. And I was like, oh, really? I am worth having a 6-figure year. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, I had a $10,000 month. And then I had another $10,000 month. And then I had like an $8,700 month. And now I had another $10,000 month. And it just started to flow. And I could feel, I stopped resisting my business.
I love it.
And I started making my business.
Mm-hmm. Your business. Yes, your business. Mm-hmm. Oh, gosh. And, I'm curious because you mentioned it. And I think, again, us, let's all be honest, real talk, right? So you have an $8,700 month. How resourced were you to stay in the game and not see that as proof that it wasn't working?
It was just a total, I fell back on everything I learned in the fall. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. And my favorite part, though, was my assistant. We meet the first week of every month. And so she gives me the tally of how much money I made. And I don't ask. Like, I don't look. She does it. And she's like, it was a 877% increase from last year. Or some bananas, like 577, like some bananas number. And I was like, that's bananas. And she's like, and you don't think that the ego, my brain did not try to creep in and be like, oh, well. And I was like,
Thank you very much.
Listen to the messages that are coming into you, sis. You are exactly where you are meant to be. And the more I keep going back to the lessons I learned in the fall, and the more I integrate the messages that I'm hearing from my clients, from spirit, from my family, the more I recognize that I am on the right path. And I don't fight with myself anymore. And that's really one of the greatest lessons I learned in the program was the ability to surrender.
Shocking. Yes.
I heard the dog that time. Like, seriously, this ability to surrender and listen and just follow the niggle and follow the push. Sometimes it's not a niggle. Sometimes it's a full on, like, get out. Right?
Definitely.
And know that that's coming from living out our purpose, which is what you teach us.
Yeah. I love that. And and a piece of that too, that I think everybody should pay attention to is when you have the resources, as you were saying, it's easier to turn off those negative noises because you know that that's what they, like, you recognize them for what they are and you can move forward.
Yep.
And so often people seek to find, okay, how do I say this? They seek to find reasons that it won't work, right? And so what I'm hearing you say is, you said, wait a minute, no, it is working, and looked for the proof that it was working, which was abundant. And I love as well that we look at how everything is working for you. And one of the things that you talked about earlier was your family life and how that's changing. So tell me, because I know a lot of people that are stuck in their business, they don't, especially women, they don't pay attention to the fact that if your business is off, I can almost, am I going to guarantee? Sure. I'll say like 85, and that's being low, % of the time, your life is off too. So what happened when you finished the 90 days? Because I know we brought some of that into the work that you were doing, especially around your husband. And I think in partnership, that's a really big piece of it, right? Like, we have to feel like we're working together. So tell me how that's changed for you since you finished the program.
Well, so one of the things that's changed is I used to try and control Jim's spending. So he has hobbies, and I don't understand his hobbies. They do not resonate with me at all, and they irritate the crap out of me. I'll be really honest. And all of a sudden, I very distinctly remember thinking, you don't have to control any of this. Just let him do it. Who cares? So he's spending money. So he's spending your money. It's okay. And the minute I was like, who cares? He stopped buying stuff and not using it. He started actually engaging with his hobbies. And I was like, this is really interesting. So then I also remember it all had to do with spending. Mm-hmm. So for me, it wasn't about bringing it in as much as it was about not being afraid. I let go the fear of not having enough. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I was like, I have holes in my jeans, so I'm going to buy jeans. And I didn't even second guess it. I just got online, ordered my jeans, and had them come. And then I was like, who have I become?
You have become you.
Honey, because it's just sitting there. And it's not like I was going out and buying a yacht, right? But it was little tiny things like my bras don't fit and I need new ones. It was, the kids grew 1,000 inches and they need new clothes. Jim's spending money on his ridiculous hobbies. Okay, whatever. It was letting go of the idea that I would not have enough the next week, because for so long, and I know you've talked about this, I've heard you talk about this. Yeah. For so long, I was afraid that the next person wouldn't come in.
Yes. Yes. And that's the prosperity piece that we talk about. Like people are like, well, what's this? It's like, this is part of it is the understanding. And you said it too, and we talk about this in the program. I know you're tapping into this, which is that where are these pockets of lack hiding, right? They're not always so obvious. And I remember you one day, I remember us talking a moment about you and your husband and the control piece, I think, is part of that prosperity code too, because we think we can control it. What do you think you learned about like flow and control?
Well, so I used to joke a lot that I was energetically constipated. Like everything is just stopped up. And then you had been talking quite intently during our the first couple of days of the retreat, that 2-day retreat we did, and you'd been talking about prosperity and flow and how it all works together. And I had gone back to some of my notes about that and really dug deep into thinking about and writing about where I was at right now. And which is why it's one of the things that I think is so valuable about the work you do is that I can go back to those things and be like, oh yeah, remember that. That's the hint you need right now. That's the universe saying, oh, remember when Lia said blah, blah, blah. I've done that with all of the coaching I've ever had. I will have that hint where it's like, remember when so-and-so said this. And what I love about the prosperity conversation is you cannot talk about abundance without talking about prosperity. Mm-hmm. Because it's not just about having all the stuff. And this is one of the things I really realized just in the last couple of weeks with my aunt passing away, is that I am not living just an abundant life, Lia. Yes. I am living a prosperous life. Yes. I have evidence. I can stand up in a room and look all around me and see the love and the joy and the flowers and the things, and everything is just flowing. And it's not just abundant, it's prosperous. Like we are thriving in this household. And it's because I, as the mom and the wife and the partner, I let all the crap go.
Yes.
It's just like, I had someone say to me the other day, they're like, you're glowing. Like, what are you doing different? And I'm like, well, I have a new skincare regime. And they're like, no, like a beam of light. And I was like, oh, I just let the crap go. Like, yeah. I just was like, I looked for the evidence. And that is one of the things that I love about the accelerator, is that you teach us how when we have moments where we realize we're hiding again, we can look around and go, oh no, surrender, sis. There's evidence all around you that you're living a prosperous life and you are all thriving. And
absolutely.
How lucky am I that I got to learn how to do that from you, and I'm still taking it away 5 months later.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And thank you so much for sharing that piece. And it does talk, like you said, you get to look around in a container of other people who are like, yeah, we don't do that here. I think that's usually by week 4 or 5, I could always count on you all in the container to go like, wait, I'm listening to you, but I don't understand what you're saying, because that's true. And I know that that's another piece of this. So talk about, for you, what was it? Because I know, some people work with me one-on-one and other people come to the group. And for you in the group, do you feel like the group experience, because I think this is something that people get concerned about, like, did you have enough access to me, and was the group additional resource for you? How do you feel that was for you in that group?
The thing I loved about doing group work with you is that I had plenty of access to you. It was great. And the thing I loved about doing a group with you is one of the things that I've really learned that I've taken away, especially in the last 5 months or so, is it's not just about what I hear directly to me. but it's also listening to what the other messages that people are getting. And there was so often when you would be coaching the other people in the group that I'd be like, girl, pay attention. That's for you too. Right. And I was really able to pick up that it wasn't just about me in the context of the group, but it was about the group dynamic, all working together, interconnected as community, that we were all learning from each other. And I learned so much from everybody else in the group. So it wasn't, and I know they learned so much from me because they've told me that. And so it's not just, I love doing groups because, I mean, sometimes I love one-on-one coaching too. But what I really love about the way you run the group and the way we meet and connect together is that all of the learning and all of the messages and all of the coaching that takes place in that container is truly about all of us. It's not just about one of us. And it was glorious. And I have made friends with all of those people and we are still connected. And I think that, and they heard things that I was missing. And then we would message each other and be like, they'd be like, did you pick up on that? And I'm like, yeah, did you pick up on this? So
I love that. Yes, right. It's more eyeballs, right? More ears and eyeballs on like the whole container. And so, people are sitting here listening to this. You've now created this normal, right? Your new normal of $10,000 months.
Isn't that amazing?
Wait. Yes. Okay. What is the other thing that we do? We celebrate all the wins. There go the dogs again. We're driving them crazy down there. So we set them all up. So yes, we celebrate all the wins. I'm so happy for you. And what I hear you say, and I hope people are listening to, is you've heard Melissa say she was in the fall quadrant of the fall cohort, of the program, which is coming up again in the fall this year. And so it's one of those things. I think a lot of people go into a program, whether it's a 90-day or a week or whatever, and they walk away with their binder. I've heard you say that you go back to your notes. I know that there are people out there that go like, yeah, but when I leave, I'm outside the container. I don't, people are gone. We've all dispersed. What do you think it was? What was different about how I set it up or how you experienced it that allowed you to still not only maintain, but grow from the tools you received while you were there?
That it was the safest place for us to be vulnerable. And because you have created this space where we could also be real, and many of us were going through huge life transitions with our families, and we were able to come into that container and be safe and be vulnerable and be very open to possibility. And because of that, when we were going through our hardest moments, we knew that that was the place that we could show up and be vulnerable and raw and real about who we are and what we are doing in our lives. And I think that is the lasting shift, is that we were able to be, the way you energetically set that space up, we could be as raw and open, and y'all just be prepared to cry a lot. I mean, I do that to my clients. So
oh gosh,
my clients have started publicly posting, by the way, about how I just be prepared to cry, right?
Yeah.
But I think that is the beauty of what happens when we work with you, is that we are allowed to be the truest form of our authentic self, which can be simultaneously terrifying and exciting for people. And I think that is the beauty of doing work with you, is that it just opens you up to a whole nother space of expansion that you just can't get it anywhere else.
Thank you so much for sharing that experience. I love it. One of the, final questions I think that everybody always has in their mind when they're ready to invest is, I've invested so much money in other things and it hasn't worked. Yeah. It is an investment, it's an investment of time. And as you said, it's an investment of being there and being 100%. This program is a $10,000 3-month investment.
Yep.
A lot of people would look at that and have thoughts about that. What would you say about someone who's thinking, is it worth it?
I'd say it's worth it. It's totally 100% worth it. Like, there's no question. Just do it.
Just do it.
It'll be okay.
It'll be okay.
We'll be fine.
Says the woman who's now celebrating $10,000 months. Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, is there anything else you would like somebody to know? I mean, I love what you just said, especially about like, come in being prepared to be open to what the experience is. As you walk away, like what's your next big vision? I know that we talk a lot about that in the program itself, but so we haven't touched in on one piece of this that you did kind of work on while we were together. So tell us, like, what's your next big vision? What's your next big expansion that you're coming into next?
Well, so my husband and I, right at the beginning of 2020, started a company called the Mermaid's Garden, and we have been looking for land to start a retreat center and aquaculture farm here in Oregon. And, what I have really realized is how much this process ebbs and flows. Mm. And when I give it intention and connection, it really starts to move. And when I don't, it doesn't. And so my big goal over the next 6, until the end of the year is to really figure out that balance of intention between Natural Born Rebel and the Mermaid's Garden. And then I actually have another company. So really figuring out, those are the three legs of my stool. Yeah. And figuring out how to give equal intention and prosperity to each one of those things, because they move so differently energetically. And so really figuring out how to give attention to those three things as I am expanding and calling in more abundance and becoming even more prosperous.
Wonderful. Awesome. So I'm excited to hear more as that continues to develop. I'm so grateful that you came to share your story with people who are out there going, all right, then, what does this look like to be on this path and this journey? And I hope that you'll come back and update us again on where you are, because it is so exciting. And last, I want to say to everyone, my goal isn't for you to just get what you can in the container, but to really build some fundamental tools so that you can continue to use them. So I'm excited to see you're doing that. And I know that you will use them to build that connection between those legs of your stool so that you can actually stand strong, because the world really does need you in it. So thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so pleased that I got to talk with you today.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for watching. I'm Lia Dunlap, the Oracle on Purpose, and you are here on purpose.
Thanks for tuning in to the Oracle on Purpose show. If you found value in this episode, we'd appreciate you leaving a comment. Also, you can subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't yet. If you'd like to get clear on your highest vision and next steps, go to oracleonpurpose.com. See you next week.